Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this virtual meeting of the Planning Committee on Thursday, the 14th of January. If you're not muted, could you mute yourself? Thank you. My name is Councillor Caleb Tomlinson, and I am the chair of this committee. Councillor Mal Donoghue is the vice chair. This is an audio and video meeting. It is being recorded and the stream will be live on YouTube. The web address for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting and can be found on the council's website. If you've joined the meeting because you're a member of the public who has registered to speak, please note you have a time limit of up to 4 minutes. Please unmute your microphone when I invite you to speak. The Deputy Monitoring Officer, Dave, will operate a stopwatch and will confirm when your time runs out. You should then finish, or if in the middle of making a point, wind up within a few seconds and finish speaking. After each report has been presented and any speakers have made their representations, I will bring the application into committee. If any committee members wish to speak on an application, you should unmute your microphone or use the chat function in the top right-hand corner to notify our moderator that you wish to speak. I will then invite you in order. Dave will repeat the motion before the vote is taken to ensure everyone is aware of what is being voted on. I will call each member alphabetically to vote and Dave will confirm the outcome of the decision. Please can I ask all members to confirm they can see, hear and speak before the meeting begins, and I will call you alphabetically. So Councillor Will Adams.
Loud and clear, Chair.
Councillor Mal Donoghue.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor James Flannery.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Mary Green.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Harry Hancock.
Loud and clear.
Councillor John Hesketh.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Mick Higgins. Councillor Mick Higgins.
Is your picture in there?
It's gone now.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Christine Melia.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Phil Smith.
Yes, Chair.
And Councillor Gareth Watson.
Yes, Chair.
And our officers, Jonathan Node.
Yes, Chair.
Dave Whelan.
Yes, Chair.
Catherine Lewis.
Yes, Chair.
Janice Crook.
Yes, Chair.
Debbie Roberts.
Yes, Chair.
And Charlotte.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, we have apologies for absent. Dave?
We've received one apology, Chair, from Councillor Barry Green. Sorry, Barry Yates. Apologies.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. As this is a virtual meeting, if a member dialing in remotely has a pecuniary interest, they are requested to leave the meeting completely rather than just mute their microphone. The member will need to remain by their iPad and Charlotte will call them over Teams to rejoin the meeting following the completion of the item in question. Does anyone have any declarations? Jonathan.
Thanks, Chair. Item 6, land off Carwood Road. I know somebody who works for the agents, so I won't be coming assisting the committee on that particular item.
Okay, I have pecuniary interest in item number 9. Oh, sorry, it's prejudicial, not pecuniary. It's item number 9, 37 Clifton Avenue, Leyland. And at the end of item 8, I will be inviting Mal Donoghue to take over the chairmanship. Councillor Watson?
In relation to Carwood Way as well, it's fairly minor, but I live practically next door to it, so I'm just raising that so you're aware. Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Councillor Donoghue?
Yeah, I've got an interest in the land, number 14, the land at Outfield Lane. It's only because it's in my ward, that's all.
Yeah, that's neither pecuniary nor prejudicial. Mal, you'll still be able to speak if you wish to. Councillor Phil Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have a personal interest, I suppose it is, in item 11, which is the Lancashire Business Park, only because as part of my portfolio on economic development, I was very, very involved in that in 2008, 9 and 10. So, but I will be staying in and speaking and voting on that as well. And I'm not sure whether we should all declare an interest in item number 10, which is the Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre, because I think we're all involved in that. So maybe we just get a block exemption on that particular one. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watson, can I ask a question on the application that you've declared an interest in? In the past, have you objected?
No.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll bring in Dave Whelan.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is if Councillor Watson lives immediately next door to the site, we'd normally think of that as a prejudicial interest.
Sorry, I'm not immediately next door, but I'm very close.
When you say very close, what are we talking about? What sort of distance?
I could throw a cricket ball and hit the ground.
It's probably best to treat it as a prejudicial interest and therefore don't vote.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Right, can we move on to item number 4? Minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of December, which was quite interesting. I have the minutes of the meeting of 17th of December in front of me. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please, if you've read them?
I'll propose them, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Watson?
Sorry, I didn't have my hand up.
Councillor Phil Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't want to particularly prolong this one, but I have had a word with officers this afternoon because I've had several phone calls from various people who do not think this is a correct record of the meeting with regard to minute 75. I spoke to officers and I thought there was going to be some sort of amendment brought forward to that or change to it with regard to that, which would enable us to vote for that. But at this stage, from what I've seen and what I've looked at on the meeting, it is not a true reflection of the meeting with regard to that particular minute, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, I'll bring Dave Whelan in on that one, Councillor Smith.
Sorry, I mean, just to confirm what Councillor Phil Smith said, this issue has been raised. I think Charlotte's drafted some amended wording which covers it. What happened at the meeting, as I recall, is Councillor Hancock declared the interest right at the beginning of the meeting. The other councillors, it was later on that their interest became apparent. So I think there's been some amended wording. I don't know if you have it in front of you, Chair, but that may well help the situation.
I'll just bring Charlotte Lynch in, thank you.
Yeah, what Dave Whelan's saying is correct. So in terms of an amendment, I would suggest amending the minutes to clarify that those interests, were declared over the course of the meeting rather than under that specific agenda item. But if members are so inclined to propose and second that motion, then we can take a vote on it. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Smith.
I think that fairly well covers it. I have to say, I don't think I'm 100% sure whether Councillor Flannery declared an interest, but on the interest of moving forward, Chair, I'd be quite happy to propose that one.
Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I was just going to second the minutes on the on the back of what Charlotte just said. I think we need to move forward and not look back. I think that's a pretty dark moment for the council. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Adams. So we've got a proposer, Councillor Flannery, a seconder, Councillor Phil Smith. Can I please take that to the vote? Councillor Adams.
Hello, Councillor Tomlinson. Councillor Tomlinson.
Councillor Mrs. Green.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I think things have got rather confused. Two councillors that night did declare an interest. The other one definitely did not declare an interest all through the meeting. So that amendment doesn't ring true to the minutes being amended and corrected. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to go back over this. I think it was very clear in Dave Whelan's comments on the night that alluded to all three councillors, Councillor Flannery, Adams and Hancock, having an interest. Thank you.
Councillor Moon.
Thank you, Chair. Just in the interest of trying to move progress, let's reflect that in the minutes then, because I've just listened to what the Deputy Monitoring Officer said, and there is a big difference between a councillor declared an interest than the interest became apparent, which is what the Deputy Monitoring Officer has just said. Now, if we take in good faith what Councillor Adams has said, that they became apparent and that the Deputy Monitoring Officer raised them, let's put that in the amendment. But let's not write a set of minutes that a councillor declared an interest if they didn't. And I would say that regardless of which councillor we were talking about, let's be accurate, or what's the point of having the minutes? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I won't sign those minutes until the amendment goes in. Are you all happy with that? I'm going to go to the vote, but I am not going to sign the minutes as a correct record. Okay? Notwithstanding the amendment. Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Donoghue?
For, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
For.
Councillor Green?
For, as long as the
Councillor
amendments are
Hancock?
changed.
For, Chair.
Councillor Esquith?
For.
Councillor Mick Higgins?
We weren't there, was we? Oh, yeah.
Councillor Amelia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
I'd like to abstain, Chair, because I can't see the amendment, so I'll just abstain. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Smith?
For.
Councillor Watson?
For, Chair.
All right, I'll go with you all. Thank you. All right, do we have any appeals, Jonathan?
None to report this time, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving swiftly on to item number 6, Land off Carwood Road, Lostock Hall. Debbie will now do her presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Is the presentation showing in full in the Civic Suite? It's not where I am.
Hi, Chair. We appear to have, well, I've got no sound at all, so it's now gone off altogether.
That's it. Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, Debbie.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Right. Carwood Road in Lostercall is a 1.8 hectare parcel of land. It's designated as existing built-up area by the local plan. In the north, we have Carwood Road and a crescent-shaped piece of woodland. In the east is Millwood Road with dwellings addressed onto Badgers Way beyond. And in the south are cycle paths and public rights-of-way running along Hennell Lane, Old Tram Road, and there are residential properties in that area as well. To the west are residential properties addressed onto the Oaks. The area is characterised by properties ranging in style and type, but typically brick built in an estate style arrangement. Site access from Millbrook Road, and it's otherwise enclosed on all sides by mature woodland. Visibility into the site is particularly restricted. There are no protected trees on or around the site, and it's flood zone 1, which is least likely to flood. Next slide, please. Okay, this is just a view from Millwood Road and Hennell Lane. Next slide. I feel like Chris Whitty. Okay, the view from Carwood Road at the junction of Millwood Road and further along in front of properties addressed onto the Oaks. Next slide, please. Okay, we've got a more detailed aerial view. The site's relatively flat and it's screened on all sides by mature woodland. Other than the widened access and the pedestrian link in the south, all of these trees will be retained and there is a supplementary landscaping scheme. Redevelopment of the site would result in loss of green space, but it isn't public open space and it hasn't at any point been protected as such. And if he wished to, the developer could prevent unauthorised access. Next slide, please. Okay, the proposal is for 61 dwellings with associated infrastructure. It's a density of approximately 34 dwellings per hectare, which reflects the adjacent estate developments. The applicant has made a full 30% affordable offer, a minimum of 20% on site, with 10% either on or off site as a contribution. We're still in discussions with the applicant. They have made a formal offer of the full 30%, but we're still talking to them as to how and where that will work. But that will be secured by a Section 106 agreement. In terms of that offer, we're comfortable that it's fully policy compliant. Access to the site will be through the existing Millwood Road, which involves limited removal of hedgerow. Mitigation of that loss has been provided and that will be secured by condition. Now the report says that there will be mitigation of 955 trees and 1916 shrubs. That's taken from the tree survey that was provided. Those numbers have since been revised and there will be 886 trees but 2,360 shrubs. Slightly fewer trees but much more shrubbery. Still significant on a small site where very little of the existing will be removed. Pedestrian access from the southern corner onto the junction of Hennell Lane and Old Tram Road will be provided. And bus stop improvements to Millwood Road secured by a legal agreement with Lancashire County Council. The interrelationships and special separation between properties have been assessed and are fully compliant. Public open space won't be possible on site. If they were to put some on there, it will be minimal. But the applicant has made a full offer of £123,000 towards Central Park and playing pitches at Vernon Carers. Two things. There is a typo at paragraph 9.3, which says £112,000. I don't know where I got that from. It should actually say £122,854. And we've had a number of calls for this money to be used more locally on other projects, for example, a player at Walton Park or a number of different schemes. The Section 106 regs are very clear that that can't happen. The only places that this money can be spent on are Central Park and playing pitches at Vernon Carers. Next slide, please. Properties are modern and designed to create a sense of place within the site, but which respects the wide variety of designs seen in the surrounding urban streetscape. The site layout shows two character areas, coordinating but distinct styles, and material palettes have been provided. The avenue, which will be in the southern part of the site, that's the top two screen images, and the shared surface area, which it will be the northern part of the site, and they're the bottom two images. Layout includes short cul-de-sacs with circulatory route to the centre, 13 different house types, 2 and 3 storey, 2 to 5 bedroom detached, semi and terrace properties, rear and front gardens similar to estates surrounding, and off-road parking to adopted standards. There is an update sheet with a couple of minor changes to conditions to allow for phased development. They are minor changes and they don't change the spirit of the condition. We've had 27 letters of representation. They're all detailed in the report. And quite a few are objecting to lots of the possible school site. So for clarity, the site was allocated in the 2000 local plan for school development. During examination of the current local plan, the Education Authority confirmed they didn't want or need the site, and the land was reallocated to the current built-up designation, which has a presumption towards development but doesn't specify a use. The Education Authority, when we consulted them again with this application, confirmed that they didn't want a financial or other contribution should permission be granted for this site, and that regardless of whether permission is granted or not, school will not be provided on the site. So in summary, we've got a well-designed, sustainable scheme appropriate for its location. It represents a windfall site that supports the council's 5-year supply, but it's an obvious extension to the residential area without detriment to the existing residents. It's in a location allocated for development and is fully policy compliant. And we also have a full, affordable and public open space contribution offer in addition to SIL payments. We would therefore recommend that members are minded to approve the application, with the decision being delegated to the planning manager in consultation with the chair and vice chair upon successful completion of a legal agreement to secure financial contributions towards public open space and on-site affordable housing. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for your presentation, Debbie. Okay, I have no members of the public wishing to speak in objection, no members of the public wishing to speak in favour. I have, in order, Councillor Damien Bretherton, who is a ward councillor. Damien Bretherton, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank the officers and in particular Debbie Roberts for compiling this thorough and detailed report. Councillor Campbell and I set up a Facebook discussion group where residents have expressed their views and opinions about this proposed development. Residents in Walton Park have seen ever-increasing development of their green space over the last few decades. Residents clung on to the expectation that the new school site would also offer a much-needed community centre. This proposed development would diminish the chance to provide much-needed community facilities and further reduce the green space and natural habitat for wildlife. Given the limited time I have got to speak on behalf of our residents, I will read out a couple of posts taken from the discussion group. Resident 1. We have a range of habitats and species within the Walton Park area. This continual development of wild areas reduces connectivity of habitats and thus the survival of many species which are simply unable to adapt and survive in the drastically changing world we live in. We are facing a future where many iconic UK species, including foxes, hedgehogs, buzzards, sparrows, owls, newts, bees and butterflies will no longer be common sights if we do not change our plans with regards to such developments. At this moment in time, the land for the gasworks, the old Sumpter Horse pub, the site at Vernon's Mill are being developed, which add up to a huge area of development and a huge reduction in habitats. Resident 2. I am disappointed to note the report being considered by the committee recommends acceptance, but for a small single retail shop and a long neglected play area, brackets, which has recently benefited from community involvement and private subsidy, close brackets, Walton Park with nearly 1,000 properties has precious few community facilities. There is no public meeting venue and little to promote community cohesion. The sum of £122,000 or so referred to in the report is a disappointing figure, given the fact the developer is relieved of the obligation to provide a play area or other recreational facilities. Some of this sum also seems earmarked to benefit the Vernon Carras site, which I find very odd. Bearing in mind the commendable efforts of local residents in raising the funds to refurbish the Central Park play area on Bellis Way, the council appears to have given the developer the full use of the Bellis Way play area with minimal contribution. We can't even have the play area illuminated, it seems, for lack of funds. The SIL value at over £500,000 is a significant benefit to the council, but I doubt much of that will be invested for the benefit of residents in Walton Park. In light of these comments, I would urge the committee to consider the need to incorporate community facilities and communal green areas within this last undeveloped site in Walton Park. At the very least, part of the £120,000 or so being proposed for off-site public open space should be invested more locally in Walton Park itself. I would urge the committee to consider ring-fencing part of these monies to improve the Bellis Way play area, the only children's play area in Walton Park, which is adjacent to the proposed development. Can I suggest at least a third of these monies is ring-fenced to invest further in the Bellis Way playground site? This site is relatively small, serving all of Walton Park. Extra funds are needed to introduce security measures such as appropriate lighting, possible CCTV, landscaping and additional equipment. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Bretherton. Councillor Matt Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members of the committee. I'll be speaking against this planning application on behalf of the residents of Walton Liddale West. This piece of land is one of the last remaining green spaces in the Walton Park area, with wildlife such as deer, birds, butterflies, bees regularly spotted on this land. If we lose this green space, then we are left with less options for local exercise, including dog walking, which is very important for people's mental and physical health, especially with the current circumstances that we are in. This development of 61 houses will add around 100 vehicles to the local road network, including the recently opened Crossborough Link Road. This will be on top of the vehicles from the houses that are being built off the Causey. Residents already have their concerns about the road, and I don't think that adding more vehicles to the equation will do any good. When life returns to some form of normality and people are able to return to their places of work and schools are reopened, this is when we will see the increase in congestion. The congestion at the A6 roundabout during the morning rush hour is already very busy, and the air pollution levels in this location are already at high levels at peak times. Adding more cars to the road network is going to cause more congestion and increase air pollution levels. Infrastructure, including traffic lights and pedestrian crossing points, will need to be considered. This land has been earmarked for a school for a considerable amount of time. A substantial number of houses have been built in the area with more children which need a school place. I don't think that it is a good idea to lose this land, and in the near future there may be a call for a new school to be built as the existing local schools become oversubscribed. Concerns have been raised about extra traffic on Todd Lane North. Residents have said that they are already have to take their lives into their own hands when crossing over to the public footpath with the new road, and now more houses are planned. Walton Park is losing its green spaces that many people moved here for. We have a range of habitats and species within the Walton Park area. Lowland meadow areas have declined by 97% between the 1930s and 1984, covering less than 1% of the UK, and many species in such once diverse habitats are now so rare that they are facing extinction. Meadow habitats support a variety of wildlife, including native wildflowers, upon which many pollinators such as bees, butterflies and birds rely on. This continual development of wild areas reduces connectivity of habitats and the survival of many species which are unable to adapt and survive in the drastically changing world we live in. Alongside the incredible diversity meadow habitats provide, they are vital in the resilience of the UK to the huge threat of climate change. Meadows are known to act as vital stores for carbon by taking in carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and releasing oxygen. This thus mitigating the increasing level of carbon dioxide, which is one of the main causes of climate change. We need to take the environmental issues seriously for the future, and in Moulton Park we still have natural areas that residents are able to enjoy and spend time in. But I worry that in the future this will not be the case, and future generations are going to face the consequences. The majority of residents are opposed to this development, particularly giving consideration to the initial plan of the area remaining a green public space and the range of benefits of not developing such habitats. This original plan should be upheld. In any development approval, the planning authority must ensure that sufficient resources are allocated for the provision of high quality play equipment in accordance with the principles contained in the Central Lancashire Supplementary Planning Document, Open Space and Playing Pitch Final Version, August 2013. I urge the committee to refuse this planning application. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Campbell. Debbie, would you like to respond to any of those comments?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Chair. I've already been over the comments about the school site. As I said, the Education Authority don't want the site and they're not willing to pay for a school on there. But to the best of my knowledge, and I've read the policies from 2000 onwards, there was no mention of a community centre on there anyway. The site's referred quite often as public open space. It isn't public open space. It's a piece of private land that's been allocated for development in a sustainable location. And we could argue that the properties on Walton Park itself were at one point green space, but they've been built as well. In terms of ecology and highways, they've both been assessed by our specialists. Highways have confirmed that they have included the assessment that takes into account the link road. The developer doesn't have any obligation to provide a play area. The play and pitch strategy allows for provision of a play area if and where it's relevant. And that calculation is done by, that assessment and calculation is done by our policy team, and they are comfortable that the only two places in this area are Vernon Carris Playfield and Central Park. And as I've already said, public open space monies or any money on the back of a Section 106 agreement cannot be ring-fenced. But even whether the council wants to or not, the Section 106 regs don't allow us to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Debbie. Do we have the applicant, Tom Whitehead, with us this evening?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Okay, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chair and members. My name is Tom Whitehead. I'm the Town Planning Manager for Lancet Homes. I have a few words before I pass over to our planning consultant, and we are both happy to answer any questions that you may have. Lancet Homes are a northwest-based family-owned developer. We have an excellent track record of building high-quality schemes nationwide, and we see South Ribble as a key location for investment and growth, and want to help drive increased confidence in the borough during these uncertain times. The design and layout of the proposal has been carefully considered and respects the woodland boundaries which surround the site. We are confident the development will integrate well, providing occupiers with easy access to local green spaces, play areas and cycling networks, as well as commercial facilities. As the committee report sets out, the site features a number of viability challenges. However, working collaboratively with the landowner and your officers, we have been able to reach an agreement to ensure that the site has been delivered. A proposal has been brought forward with a 30% affordable housing offer. Should the application be approved, we would intend to make a start on site as soon as possible. I will pass you, if I may, to our planning consultant, Dave Chan, who will take you through the planning merits of this year. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome, members. Just to add, it's a very thorough report by the officer on the site. The site's clearly a highly sustainable site lying within the urban area, and it's a parcel of unused land. The policy basis is supportive of windfall housing in such locations. It's sustainably located and close to many facilities and services. In response to some of the comments raised through by the members, extensive ecological surveys have been undertaken on the site and concluded that there is nothing of any great significance on there, and that mitigation can be put in place through new tree planting and other landscape improvements around the site. The site hasn't got bats or any other particular wildlife within it. And that's a really helpful way of increasing the biodiversity through improvements to the site. With regards to access and traffic, a thorough transport assessment has been undertaken and agreed by the local highway officer that sets out that the proposal won't have a severe impact upon the local highway network in the area. The amount of trips is between 36 and 41 as two-way trips during the morning and evening peak rush hours, because you don't get 2 cars per house moving all at the same time. And that level of traffic can be more than happily accommodated within the local highway network without undue effect. The proposals also seek to link with and connect with the cycleways and walkways locally to encourage sustainable and active travel modes. As well as looking to relocate the bus stop slightly up Millbrook Way, slightly to and increase it to a quality bus standard. So that will lead to an improved bus facilities within the area. The applicant has spent a lot of time working with officers to try and come up with a scheme which we truly believe is fully consistent with all policies of the plan. It provides the full affordable housing contribution, which is a really significant benefit and weighs heavily in favour of the scheme. It also provides much needed family homes suitable for a range of different occupiers. The site's been brought forward as part of Homes England's site, and it's, as the officer said, it's not required for a school, and it's not open space or protected open space, and there's no formal access to it. So by the development bringing forward a significant contribution to local open space, again in accordance with policy, it can make a significant benefit. So the scheme does bring a number of substantial benefits, including tree planting, biodiversity, new homes, affordable homes, $500,000 of SIL, bus stop improvements and Section 106. And overall, given this significant level of benefit, plus the lack of any...
Yeah, okay, can you start tying up? Can you start tying up? You have had your 4 minutes.
Okay, and against the lack of any harm, we think it weighs heavily in favour, and we respectfully request members approve the scheme this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. I will now bring the application into committee. I have Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This site has been in the pipeline for development for quite a while, and the application before us tonight possibly isn't what we wished it to be. But we have to take the application before us tonight as it is. And as I see it, Mr. Chairman, the applicant does comply with material consideration in favour of development. And it also is in accordance with the relevant policies of South Ribble and the National Planning Policy Framework. So I think that we have no option, Mr. Chairman, but to go for approval, and I will propose approval. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Hesketh. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on this application? No. Sorry. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think it is a good application, and looking at the detail in it, it certainly is bringing some money towards the various areas of South Ribble. I have to say, and I agree with my council colleagues that have spoken and the residents, it's a pity that some of the money couldn't go to this small play area, which is just right adjacent to it. It is adjacent to it, and it's a shame that if our policy doesn't allow things like that, to be quite honest, our policy needs changing, because it just is not good enough that a developer can bring in 60 odd houses, which might be much needed, and the affordable houses are much needed, to be quite honest, and not make a contribution, a financial contribution, no matter how large or how small that may be, just make something significant towards what is a local play area, and it is the only one in the area. Well, some of the money is going to Central Parks, which is a good thing, because we brought Central Parks over as a new part that we were developing about 6 or 7 years ago. I think we brought this forward, and we were, our ambition was to make it one of the nicest, best parks in the whole of the borough, and certainly the biggest park. Not a traditional park in the normal way of things, but a place where people can go, and the biodiversity of the park would be welcomed by everybody. But again, we have a play area that has half a swing, I think, and that's about it. The residents locally have been putting together. They've been fundraising to put some money together, which is important. The council has put some money towards that. I just wonder why, from the 106 agreement, why there can't be some amendments to that. And I've just noticed that. That you will be finally signing it off, Chair, with towards a financial contribution towards public open space. Maybe when you're signing it off, you could add an addendum to that and ask for some of the money to go to that local park. I think it was much needed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. So I've had a proposal for approval. Do I have a seconder?
Approve that, Chair. Seconder.
Thanks, Councillor Hancock. So that's a seconder for approval. Do I have any other proposals? No? Okay, we'll go to the vote then. This is for approval. Oh, sorry. Dave, would you like to instruct what the committee are voting on?
Yes, Chair. It's not straightforward. It's not just for approval. It's that members are minded to approve, subject to the completion of a 106 agreement to be signed off by the planning director and yourself.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Okay, let's go to the vote then. Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Donoghue.
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
4.
Councillor Mary Green.
4.
Councillor Harry Hancock.
Approval, Chair.
Councillor John Hesketh.
Approval, Chair.
Councillor Amelia.
Approval.
Councillor Moon.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4, subject to your discussion. 106, Chair.
And Councillor Watson.
Sorry, I'm unable to vote on it, Chair, as per Dave Whelan.
Oh, of course, you can't. Sorry, you can't vote.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
My apologies, Councillor Watson. And I am also for. Dave, would you like to tell us the outcome?
Yes, Chair. That's a unanimous vote in favour of, the members being minded to approve the application, subject to the successful completion of a 106 agreement.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Okay, item number 7, Budweiser Brewing Company, Kewardale Lane, Samlesbury. Debbie Roberts, if you'd like to present the item, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Can I have the next slide, please? Can you
Sorry,
hear
Chair
me?
and Debbie, I don't think anybody can hear anything at the moment.
Oh,
We can hear you, Debbie.
lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the site is Budweiser Brewery. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Budweiser Brewery, formerly in Bev at Samlesbury. It's in the Green Belt, but benefits from Green Belt and National Planning Policy Framework protection for major employment sites and transport infrastructure proposals, and that's all detailed in the report for you. Surrounding and facing a tract of open land. The nearest houses are New Southworth Hall, which is on the left, Cowles Farm facing, and Rowley Fold opposite Cowles on the right-hand side. An almost identical but slightly smaller scheme was approved in 2016, but that's not been implemented. Next slide, please. The proposal itself is for a HGV registration and holding area to the front of the site, circulatory space and a new control gatehouse. There's an image of the gatehouse top left. The site would have 15 HGV bays, a booking in and ticketing screen system. Access will be from the west after some reprofiling of the bund, and there'll be a turning circle on the eastern side which allows egress for people who've accidentally gone onto the site, and most of the HGVs will leave on the existing site entry on the right hand side. It also provides for 3 weighbridges with central weighbridge kiosk, a reconfigured central entrance. The left hand of the existing entrance will be widened slightly. There will be 9 lighting columns throughout the site, 1 adjacent to Curedale Lane access, but none on Curedale Lane itself. The proposal's necessary for highways safety. We've got issues caused by HGV parking in the acceleration and deceleration lanes on Curedale Lane. Lancashire County Council Highways have considered it acceptable, and they confirm that the temporary reduction from 50 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour is likely to be made permanent. Next slide, please. This is the proposed landscaping scheme as mitigation for lots of low-level shrubbery trees as a result of the bund reprofiling. I couldn't put it in the report at the time, but we've since had a second application. And in addition to this mitigation, the new application provides for significant biodiversity enhancements to more than cover the combined loss of both schemes. Now that'll come to you in about 2 months. This landscaping scheme is acceptable for this scheme, but there is some loss. But the second scheme will more than offset that loss. Separately though, independently and combined as a combined scheme, combined biodiversity scheme, they are accepted by both the ecologist and arborist. Next slide, please. That's a photograph of the main access. Alterations proposed are as an exit route for the HGV holding area, access and egress for the remainder of the site, and the road that you can see on the left where the big sign is will be realigned to provide better sight lines. Next slide, please. The whole HGV holding area will be on the west of the main entrance. The new access is approximately where the arrow points, so it's slightly further down Curedale Lane. As you can see, Curedale Lane itself is a really good straight road. Next slide, please. View of the eastern side of the gate access, trees and the deep bund are to be retained on this side. There would be a good green frontage, but obviously a commercial facade. Statutory consultee comments have been secured by conditions, and otherwise we've had no objections. We will go for approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Debbie. I've no registered speakers. I've no members not on committee wishing to speak. I have the applicant, Dominic Page.
Evening, Chair.
Good evening. Okay, if you'd like to make your presentation, you have 4 minutes.
Thanks very much, and good evening, members. I don't intend to do a sort of a full presentation, but just wanted to confirm that we're happy with the officer's report and also happy with the proposed planning conditions, and just wanted to make myself available in case members had any particular questions that I can help with. Otherwise, we're happy with the recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your time. I will now open this up to committee. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. I've spoken with Councillor Yates about this as it's within his area, and obviously he's not attending tonight. Both he and I approve of this, especially because of the road safety issues on Curedale Lane. It's anything we can do to help businesses in the area is always great. I believe, and he believes, that the residents of Samlesbury will welcome this as well. And yeah, I think it's thank you to the officers for their presentation. I would like to propose approval for this.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Watson. Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When I was reading the report, it's a bit of deja vu. I felt as though I'd read this report somewhere before. In fact, I had. I think it was 2016 or something like that, some while ago, where it was actually passed, but didn't actually take place. The work didn't actually take place, which I suppose is a bit disappointing, but I think I'm happy to see it come back again. It will sort of help the business itself and help the business keep growing, which is what we want, and also improve the road safety on Curedale Lane. So I'll be quite happy to second that with the conditions attached. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Do we have anybody else on committee wishing to speak on this application? Do we have any other approvals? Do we have any? Do we have any other proposals? No, okay, we will go straight to the vote then. Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Donoghue?
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
For.
Councillor Mary Green?
For.
Councillor Hancock?
Approval, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For.
Councillor Amelia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Smith?
For approval, Chair.
And Councillor Watson?
For approval, Chair.
And I'm for approval as well. Dave, will you confirm the outcome of the vote?
Yes, Chair, that's a unanimous vote in favour of planning permission for the construction of the HGV self-registration area, etc.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Item number 8, Tanny Bryn Farm, Lamb Lane, Longton. Debbie.
Thank you, Chair. That's lovely, thank you. Right, Tanny Bryn is an established livery yard with an associated dwelling on the eastern side of Land Lane in Longton. It's semi-rural, as you can see, and it's greenbelt. Tanny Bryn, the dwelling, and the small car park face Land Lane. To the rear are a fully secured site. Run of storage and stable units run along the northern edge, and wooden indoor arena, stables and an effluent store on the western side. There are large central paddocks which are currently used as an outdoor arena, and the horsebox parking area and access track run along the southern edge. It's an unmade track. You can't really see it on that photograph. To the north is Peelview, which is a residential and a large-scale commercial trailer maintenance depot. To the west is Winston and Oakfield, which are agricultural residential units, and otherwise the site's open and secluded in nature. Flood zone 1 and no tree preservation orders associated with this site. Next slide, please. Okay, the proposal is for an outdoor arena on the existing arena site. The arena will be used to support the existing equestrian training business and as a training base for the applicant's son. Currently, training and the business are undertaken on the same space, but it's a field, and it's substandard, it's weather dependent. The indoor space they have is too small, and they can't attract or retain clients at the high level that they do train for. Daily travel to other facilities to teach and train is expensive, subject to availability, and less sustainable than having all the horses and trainers on one site. The arena will be 65 metres by 30 metres, so around 1,700 square metres in total, and made of a typical equestrian surface, wax and fibre. It'd be enclosed with a timber post and rail fence, which would replace existing electric fencing, so very little other than facilitating all year round use. There will be no flood lighting. The working day is finished by the evening, and any excess water, if it doesn't drain through the arena, will be able to run onto the existing paddock between the house and arena. As you can see from this drawing, there's a lot of green space around it. The remainder of the site will remain the same. Next slide, please. Thank you. It's a photograph of the area. It's a little bit disjointed to try and get everything in for you, but we've got stables on the left and behind me. We've got the existing arena in the centre with its fencing, and we've got the house on the right. As you can see, it's completely enclosed, barely visible from outside on Land Lane. The existing paddock's already in training use, but it's just not suitable. And we think that the benefits from Greenbelt exemption as an essential facility for sports. We've had no representation, no objection, and we would recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for your presentation, Debbie. Okay, I don't have any registered speakers. I don't have members not on committee wishing to speak. I do have the agent, Graham Thorpe.
Hello, Chair.
Good evening. Okay, if you'd like to make your presentation, you have 4 minutes.
Okay, no problem. Good evening, members. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant as planning agent for this application, and we fully support the case officer's recommendation and the officer's presentation to you this evening. The proposal is for the formation of an all-weather outdoor equestrian arena on land at Tannybryn Farm in New Longton. As the officers just presented, the arena would be formed on land adjacent to the existing indoor arena. The land's currently used already as a horse paddock, and it's located almost centrally within the existing centre as seen in the plans on the officer's report. The case officer considers the proposal to be policy compliant, and we fully agree. It's been designed to be as low key as possible. It's almost invisible from outside the level site. Although the farm's remotely located in some aspects, it doesn't hinder access through road with links to the A59. It has no impacts on residential amenity. There's no requirements for any external lighting, and as just highlighted, there's no impact through flooding. The scheme offers environmental benefits as the applicant's clientele and family would travel less distance due to this being a more permanent training base adjacent to the livery units on site, and there's no loss of agriculture or grazing land. Approval of the application would support a well-established business to ensure its long-term future on the site. The applicant is a prominent coach in the show jumping field and has trained show jumping horses at this site for over 20 years. They travel training other UK show jumpers, particularly children. The applicant's son has been a member of the British show jumping team since he was 12 and has competed in a number of European championships. External areas are remote from the site, expensive to hire and in high demand, particularly since the COVID outbreak. This proposed arena and improvements to the facilities on site not only improve and increase facilities for the applicant's son to train, but also support and enhance the applicant's current existing tailored livery yard and niche specialist training business for the site. The new scheme is set to be the size of a regulation show jumping arena, and as such would allow the training of competitive moves and routines in a more effective setting. This is incredibly helpful for any user as it allows for a more realistic training session and enables the routines that can be translated directly into the competition arena. As the farm is also a working business, the new facilities would also allow the business to attract and retain paying customers at a more elite level and offer an increased standard of training on the site. As such, we ask members to support this excellent scheme that looks to breathe new life into the business at Tannybryn Farm and allows Robert to continue to improve and win championships for Team GB. And we ask that the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Graham. Thanks for your presentation. I will now open this up to committee. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This applicant here before us this evening, Mr. Chairman, is very active and high in the equestrian circles. It's prestige to have someone of this nature in our area. If supported, it would protect a viable and existing business, which we must support. We should support businesses that create various activities within the area, and that's what this particular application does. It does accord with the local plan that we have, and as I see it, it comes under the heading of farm diversification. I think it's an ideal specification for this application, Mr. Chairman, and I will go along with the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Mrs. Green.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I feel that, especially in the present time, we should encourage all sport and healthy living as much as we can. And even in normal times, sport is an excellent activity for young and old. You know, and we should encourage it as much as we can. So I'd like to second this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mrs. Green. Any other member on committee wishing to speak on this application? Do we have any other proposals? Okay, can we go to the vote then, please? Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Donoghue.
For.
Councillor Flannery.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Mrs. Melia.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Moon.
Mrs. Mealy.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For approval, Chair.
And Councillor Watson.
For approval, Chair.
And I am also for approval. Dave, can you confirm the outcome?
Yes, Chair, that's a unanimous vote in favour of granting planning permission for the formation of an all-weather outdoor equestrian arena.
Okay, thanks very much. For item number 9, I will vacate the chair and Councillor Donoghue will chair for this item.
Thank you. Right, this application is for number 37, Clifton Avenue, Leyland, and it's come to committee because the council, it's a serving councillor, Mr. Matthew Tomlinson. I don't think we've got an officer presentation, doesn't look like it. So is Mr.
Sorry, just to jump in there, Councillor Donoghue, I do believe we have got a presentation.
Oh, right, sorry. Right, sorry about that. It doesn't show it on the thing, so.
Do you want to invite Debbie Roberts to give her presentation?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor. As Councillor Donoghue said, the next application is brought forward as the applicant is a serving council member. We've got a two-storey property in a cul-de-sac of Clifton Avenue in Leyland. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, the application proposes a single-storey rear extension following demolition of the single-storey outrigger. The ones on the left-hand side are the proposed. I beg your pardon, the existing is on the top and the proposed is at the bottom. My notes don't say that. Materials to match the existing. The proposal will be 5.5 metres wide, project by a maximum of 4.2 metres, and will be 300 millimetres off the boundary with number 38. It have a flat roof with a central lantern. Spatial impact, special separation and impact on both neighbours are acceptable, and the scheme's policy compliant. In fact, with very slight reductions, this application wouldn't need planning permission at all. Next slide, please. Just a photograph of the property itself. It projects roughly the same, but across the entire rear as the outrigger on the right-hand side. We've had no representation, no objections, and I'd recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your presentation, Debbie. Right, have we got the applicant with us?
We don't, Chair. No, we've got no registered speakers on this application, so you can bring it into committee if you'd like.
Okay, that's fine then. Now I think we have Councillor Flannery first. Do you wish to speak?
Okay, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. Pretty straightforward. The application obviously accords with the South Ribble residential design guide, and it's a good application, so I'm going for approval.
Thank you for that. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair, or temporary Chair. Yeah, very straightforward. I think if it's only because it's on the council that we're looking at it. It's policy compliant, so I'm happy to second that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Have we any other proposals? No? Okay, so we'll bring it into committee then. Councillor Adams?
For.
Right, thank you. Councillor Flannery?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mary Green?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hancock?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hesketh?
For.
Councillor Amelia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Smith?
For approval.
Thank you. And Councillor Watson?
For approval, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Could you tell us what the thing is, Dave?
Well, what is your vote, Councillor Donoghue?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm for as well, yeah.
On that basis, Chair, it's the planning permission is granted on a unanimous basis.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Well, hopefully I'll hand you back to the original chairman now when he comes back.
Okay, moving on to item number 10, Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre. It's Debbie Roberts.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Last but not least from me tonight, Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre is a 2.4 hectare site accessed off Brindle Road in Bamber Bridge. To the south, we've got playing fields in informal recreational use, rarely organised sport because it waterlogs quite frequently. Beyond that are the railway and residential properties. Cockchop Brook skirts the western boundary, coming in from under the railway. And in the north, we've got residential properties which run all the way along the northern boundary. In the east, there is a large car park and 2 dwellings, Lancaster and York cottages. And beyond that are the M6 and Brindle Road. To the centre of the site, surrounded by trees, as you can see there, is Withygrove Care Home, and that's completely screened by that woodland. There is woodland and shrubbery throughout the site and rising up to form the motorway embankment. The closest air quality management area is 500 metres west beyond the existing development that you can see on Station Road. Next slide, please. That's just a view of the playing fields site from the southeastern corner. Next slide, please. And that's the car park and the leisure centre viewed from the same place. The motorway is on the right-hand side, and as you can see, it's considerably elevated. It runs from 3 metres to 8 metres on the southern boundary difference between the height of the motorway and the level of the proposal site. Next slide, please. That's the car park and leisure centre viewed from the opposite end. The access that we'll discuss in a minute is on the left, just outside of the picture, and Lancaster and York cottages are on the left as well. Next slide, please. For background, there are 244 football teams in South Ribble, with 43% of Central Lancs' accessible pitches in South Ribble. Of 12 full-sized artificial grass pitches in Central Lancs, 5 are in South Ribble, and all apart from 1 at Lancashire Football Association are managed or on educational establishments. Only 2 are available for weekend play, and there are pitch quality issues on 4 of them. The 5 smaller pitches at Lancashire FA and Tennis Centre aren't enough to affect the shortfall. The adult pitches are busy but have some capacity, but the youth pitches are very oversubscribed, and growth can't happen without access to better or more pitches. Better facilities also underpin the financial stability of the leisure centre itself by providing paying customers. The proposal, therefore, takes 5 parts. It's erection of a sports pavilion, 2 artificial grass playing pitches with ancillary works, extension of the car park, remodelling of the highway junction with Brindle Road, and remodelling of the skate park. Next slide, please. Taking each one in turn, 2 artificial grass pitches are proposed to the south of the sports centre, east of Withygrove play area, which you can see in the right-hand corner there, and west of the M6, but will be screened by mature woodland. They'd have a combined footprint of 80 metres by 225 metres, running north to south, and each pitch will be divided into 2 further sections by netting. There'll be an engineered base with an artificial grass carpet, and shot pads and pitches would meet the head impact criteria for contact rugby. In the centre is a storage area that allows access into the 2 pitches, and there is also a reset goal store. To the northwest and southeastern ends are spectator areas with spectator safety rail fence, and there are 2 metre fences around the goal recesses. Surrounding the whole and access from a gate on the western side is a 4.5 metre high green weld mesh fence. 2 green storage containers would also be located on the centre path between the pitches within the secure area. The existing areas would remain open for casual recreation and other managed activity, and they'll suffer less from overuse. 12 15-metre floodlights will be installed around the edges. These will be flat-cowled LED lamps to prevent overspill, and they're more environmentally friendly and cost-effective than standard floodlights. Lighting is proposed between 8 in the morning and 10 at night on a timer, and that timer is followed by a timer for 10-minute low-level lighting to allow safe egress. That's consistent with other facilities. Lighting is significant enough to allow for full use, but in the main faces away from residential properties on the M6. Where that's unavoidable, there is deep spatial separation and mature woodland, which screens light overspill to prevent loss of residential amenity or hazard to highway users. It's flood zone 1, so there's little or no risk of flooding from adjacent watercourses, but there is surface water storage under the grass pitches, artificial pitches. That maintains the existing greenfield rate and will improve surface water flooding on the lower lying areas. Surface water feeds into the existing highway drainage systems and via land drains into Cocktop Brook, and petrol interceptors are proposed to reduce contamination of the brook. Foul water from the proposed pavilion will connect to existing infrastructure on Brindle Road. It's difficult to see, but slightly to the north of the pitches, there is a small skate park, and it stands just in the path of the pitches. That will be remodelled by adding a strip to the western side away from the pitches so that they're not losing out on that bit. There are concerns about ball strike from Highways England, but Highways England are satisfied that this can be mitigated by a condition. That ball strike uphill, particularly when we've got a 3 metre to 8 metre height difference along the M6 length, is unlikely, but the applicant's confident that ball trajectory, I can't say that word, assessment, which forms part of the discharge of conditions if approved, would allay the concerns. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Nope. Last slide, please. Thank you. Okay, we can't get away from the fact that trees will need to be removed. There are 10 trees and 3 groups affected. Replacement scheme has, however, been offered, and it's significantly more than the 2-for-1 policy requirement. There will be heavy standard trees underpinned by over 1,000 whips. There are also benefits of the upgraded sports facility, which are considered to outweigh the harm caused by the loss of low category trees. Next slide, please. Thank you. Moving on to the pavilion. The proposal includes a new single-storey sports pavilion to the southwest of the existing sports centre and the east of Withygrove Play Area. It's fully accessible and DDA compliant, and it will have a footprint of 27 metres by 31 metres maximum. On one end will be a 4 metre deep spectator canopy, an open-sided one, which faces both Withygrove Play Area and the proposed pitches, so it's multifunctional. Front entrance approach would face the sports centre and the car park. Be constructed in buff and grey brick, coloured steel for the roof, and a central entrance would be clad in vertical panelling. Inside there will be 4 team changing rooms and showers, separate official and disability changing rooms and stores, plant and service rooms, and a small social room with a kitchen. The proposal includes a number of environment-friendly additions, which offer considerable green benefits as well as the health benefits seen from the wider scheme. We've got photovoltaics on the units on the pavilions, the solar panels, detailed as per pre-commencement condition, vehicle recharging points, more than required landscape mitigation, as I've already mentioned, and LED flood lighting. The applicant considered air source and ground source heat pumps. Ground source pumps are physically not possible on this development. The foundations aren't deep enough. And air source pumps are only possible on the front elevation near to the plant room. The large, and they would be caged. There's an orange star on the left-hand drawing, as you can see, where they would be. And it's our opinion that that's not appropriate in design terms. We would rather compromise the green benefits than the design, particularly as the green benefits are more than offset by the other proposed additions. Otherwise, the scheme's policy compliant. Next slide, please. There would also be a car park extension to the south of the existing car park, an extra 77 car park spaces, so that's a total of 206 with 10 mobility spaces, in addition to 2 minibus spaces, 2 coach laybys and 12 cycle hoops, which accommodate 24 cycles. There would be 8 new electric vehicle charging points, in addition to a separate council scheme, which isn't part of this proposal, but that will provide for charging points on the main car park. That's sufficient to cater the increased demands of the site, and Lancashire County Council are happy with the arrangement. The transport assessment anticipates an extra 23 two-way winter trips per peak weekday hour. That's likely to be the most intensive movement, as during the warmer months people may walk or cycle to the facility. Next slide, please. And finally, we've got the improved geometry and sightlines of the Brindle Road junction. That will be widening and better sightlines, a reef profile banking, and a new crossing. You can see the old layout with the dotted line, so it's not overly significant. It just makes for a better access and egress. Development as a playing pitch hub will attract significant funding from the Football Association. There are investment commitments from national partners, including delivery of 2 artificial grass pitches in a single hub, which is this scheme, amongst others, which are detailed in the report. But delivery is expected in summer 2021, subject to member approval and successful Football Association funding. Now, I need to say that the ability to apply for that funding expires tomorrow. So we need a decision one way or the other tonight, rather than a deferral if possible. Overall, the scheme is compliant. We've also had a question from a member as to why the air quality assessment, which we've detailed in condition 26, wasn't addressed earlier. We have been talking about this right from day one, and discussions with environmental health. We felt that it would, by the time we got the report put together and we'd had it properly, fully assessed, that it would take us beyond the funding timescales to have that done. The condition secures the work and make sure that everything is done in accordance with our policy, because the applicant would have to discharge that before any commencement. If there were any issues, we'd have to sort those out before any commencement on site. But that shouldn't affect this scheme tonight. That's something we can deal with afterwards. Overall, as I say, the scheme is policy compliant, and we would recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Debbie. Right, I don't have any members of the public wishing to speak on this. I have Councillor Mick Titherington wishing to speak.
Hello, Chair.
Good evening, Councillor Titherington.
Oh,
if you'd like to make... Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. I mean, I thought I should say something in support of this application, being the portfolio holder for health and well-being. I think, as members will be aware, the Central Lancashire Playing Pitch Strategy, adopted in 2018, identified the need for 2 full-size 3G pitches in the borough to meet demand. Although I must say is that, given that the number of contacts and requests that I've received from football clubs, I suspect that the demand is even higher than that which is stipulated in the strategy. But since that strategy has been published, we've been searching for suitable sites where we could locate the pitches, and Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre fits the bill in so many ways. Not least is because we own the land. Also, members will know that even before the pandemic, many of the games played on grass pitches had to be postponed because of the weather and ground conditions, leading to fixture congestion and disappointed players. This has led the FA to call for an increase in artificial grass pitches, pitch provision. This project, with the provision of quality facilities for training and match play, will have a beneficial impact for our local clubs. The facility will also make a major contribution to delivering on the corporate plan and our recently adopted leisure and sports facility strategy, More People, More Active, by increasing the health and well-being and promoting social inclusion and community cohesion. Our sports development team and the positive activities coordinator will lead in seeking to include people with disabilities and mental health problems. Equally, we will intend to develop programs to target young people at risk of antisocial behaviour and people living in hardship. The Lancashire FA and Preston North End Community and Education Trust are project partners and will help deliver inclusive football activities. We also have developed a partner club arrangements with 3 clubs: Lostock Hall Junior Football Club, Walton-le-Dale Junior Football Club and Bamber Bridge United Junior Football Club. The rugby club, South Ribble Rabbitohs will also benefit from floodlit training facilities because one of the pitches does allow for rugby training. The pavilion will also have a social room where clubs can hold committee meetings, and it can be used for other things associated with the clubs and other classes, maybe organised and used there, such as yoga and other things. Also, there is a kitchen within the pavilion, so spectators can enjoy a cup of tea while they're watching the game, and also the players can get something after the game. But the facility will form an important part of our leisure local strategy, which aims to open up facilities that will extend the opportunity for more people to participate in organised and or social sports activity, which will enable them to make it easier for them to make healthy lifestyle choices. So it's an exciting project, and it will be a fantastic community asset and will be welcomed by many of the clubs that are operating in the borough. And so in that context, I hope the committee will agree with me and approve the application. And I think Steve Wells will also, who is the agent, will also make a comprehensive report to the committee. But thank you for that, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Titherington. Do we have the applicant, Steve Wells?
You do. Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. If you'd like to make your presentation, you have 4 minutes. Okay.
I can do. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. I didn't realise that I'd given my notes to Councillor Titherington, so there's not much more that I can add to this, other than to say we accept completely the report from Debbie Roberts. That's very accurate and describes the physical facilities proposed, as well as the support that's come from both internal and external consultation. The point about the Football Foundation application, there are 4 funding windows during the course of the year. It just happens to be that the next one in January is tomorrow. And for us to, with your approval, if the facilities go ahead, then they could be constructed or would be constructed this summer. And to do that, we need the funding in place, and there's nearly £1 million on offer from the Football Foundation. That is dependent upon a successful planning application as well as the tender documents that we're seeking. That application goes in tomorrow, and with a fair wind, that will get approved in April. And with your approval, we should be on the ground in June this year, with the completion of the artificial grass pitches before Christmas and the pavilion following shortly after in January. All I'd like to say is that this proposal is supported by and will deliver on a raft of policies that Councillor Titherington and others will know about. It's supported by all consultees through the planning process, and has received a significant number of positive representations. The proposals are designed to be attractive and welcoming, but they're robust, they're energy efficient, they're inclusive, they're easily maintained, and they're all to the latest standards and guidance. With the support of the Football Foundation and the County FA, this will bring a significant inward investment into the council. More importantly, I think, this will add to the longer-term sustainability of the Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre site. I'm happy to hang around if anybody's got any questions, but that will do for me. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Right, I'm going to bring it straight into committee. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm the ward councillor bordering on to this area, and I know that myself, Jim Marsh, and again another bordering councillor in Barry Yates, we all think this is a wonderful thing for the people of South Ribble East. It's an important time to be doing things like this, and it's another viable business. As Councillor Titherington has mentioned, there's clearly demand for this, as probably in excess of what's even being supplied. So I can only really see positives from this application. Obviously, I'd like to thank the officers for their report and for Steve's words and Councillor Titherington's as well. I'm absolutely wholeheartedly behind this. I'm also glad to hear that the assessment about the air pollution levels and so on is going to be looked at in due course, because obviously it is next to the motorway, so there are some concerns from that. But I would certainly, something I'd like to use myself if it wasn't for the fact that I'm absolutely rubbish at football, as much as I love it and do to bits. So I'd like to move for approval on this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Watson. Councillor Flannery.
Okay, thanks, Chair. A good news story. Well done to everyone involved. Well done to Steve, the officers and the consultees and the community. This clearly looks like it's a catalyst for investment into health and well-being in our borough. Much needed post-COVID, and it's a good news story, so well done. It's policy compliant. And as someone who coaches a junior football team in South Ribble, who has to travel over to Preston to boot pitches, this is much needed and welcome, so I'm going to second the proposal. So well done, everyone involved.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Amelia.
Yes, hello. Well, I've got two reasons this is really close to my heart. It actually is in my ward and my house borders the park. And my second reason is that not a lot of people know this, but I was the first manager to have a multiracial football youth team back in the early 80s in Blackburn. So I have a real big love of football. And I'm sure that the people at Bamber Bridge and beyond will welcome this as I do. So thank you very much for everything concerned.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Amelia. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this application is quite quick, straightforward in my mind. It's very exciting, I think, as other members have talked about. It's a great thing for the community. There's so many positives here. I think it's actually making me smile actually when we started talking about it. I thought the presentation by Debbie was fantastic. As I say, exciting for the community. If anything, I think this should be the start of our intentions moving forward in terms of sport and activity for in the borough. I'd like to see more of it. Congratulations to Councillor Titherington as well for pushing this and helping deliver it. So I'm very happy to second approval if it's not already been done so. Well done to everyone involved, and we'll love to see it once it's actually completed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Adams. Just to let you know, it has already been seconded by James Flannery, proposed by Councillor Watson. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm also very supportive of it. This has been on the go for several years. 2018, it was in the 2019 plan going forward. So I'm happy to see it come forward. It's nice to see that the full-size pitches will split into what is 4 junior pitches, because there's a real need and a shortage there, as has already been highlighted. But we will still be short of capacity, as has already been outlined by Councillor Titherington. No matter how many pitches that seem to be coming forward in the borough and in Lancashire, we just cannot exceed the demand. The demand exceeds supply permanently, but it is really nice to see this come forward, and well done to everybody for bringing it forward. And I'll be looking forward to seeing the spade in the ground and it get operational in January 22. That's great news. Well done, everybody.
Yeah, indeed, a real good news story. I haven't got any other proposals, have I? No. Okay, we're going to go straight to the vote then. Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Donoghue.
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
For.
Councillor Mrs Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
For, Chair.
Councillor Mrs Mealia.
For.
Councillor Mrs Moon.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For, Chair.
And Councillor Watson.
For approval, Chair.
And I am emphatically for approval. Okay, Dave, if you can give us the outcome.
Yes, that's a unanimous vote, Chair, in favour of granting planning permission for the development described at Bamber Bridge Leisure Centre.
Absolutely marvellous. Okay, move on. Item number 11, land to the west of Lancashire Business Park, Centurion Way, Farrington. Janice, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the Farrington Hall Estate site located off Centurion Way in Farrington. The site is adjacent to the Lancashire Business Park, which lies to the east. To the west are residential properties on Bispham Avenue and its surrounding streets. And to the south is a residential development site off Grasmere Avenue and then the Tomlinson Road Industrial Estate. So the site is allocated for employment under policy E1 as Site G in the local plan. This excerpt from the local plan shows how it relates to other land allocations. So the crosshatch is existing employment area and the red is housing land allocation, which have now got planning permission and are currently under construction. So the application is in outline with all matters reserved apart from the access for up to 56,904 square metres of light industrial within the EG use class, general industrial within the B2 use class, storage and distribution within the B8 use class, and ancillary office accommodation. So this is an indicative master plan which demonstrates how the site could be developed. A building heights plan has also been submitted which demonstrates development of between 15 metres and 30 metres in height. Just in context, the chimneys of the Global Renewables Waste Plant currently stand at 25 metres in height. So also a parameters plan has been submitted, and together these plans set the broad areas for development, the building heights and uses. So this is the proposed access off Centurion Way from the existing roundabout. This just shows this is just a photograph of the proposed route. And this is a photograph of the existing roundabout which serves the Lancashire Business Park. This is the northern access point which joins to Sustainability Way, which in turn connects to Enterprise Drive. And this is the photograph, shows where the northern access route will connect. County Highways have no objections to the means of access for the development. Within the site there's public rights of way. The proposal includes footpath improvements to provide 3 metre wide shared footpath and cycleway running from Mill Lane to Centurion Way, and also an emergency link between the two parts of the development. So there are quite a lot of residential properties to the west on Bispham Avenue, Riverside, Brookside Close, Mill Lane, Meadowland Close, Morley Croft. They're all on the opposite side of the River Lostock. There's new properties on the Grasmere Avenue development site, which is currently under construction to the east. To the south, there are residential properties on Hall Lane, Bluebell Wood and Summerfield. So this application is in outline and therefore the design and appearance of the proposed development is not known at this stage. So the reserved matters application will need to ensure that there's no detrimental impact on neighbouring residential properties in terms of the requirements of policy G17. A number of objections have been received from neighbouring residents in terms of flooding, noise, the size and scale of the development, traffic generation, lack of infrastructure and loss of green open space. So in terms of consultees, County Highways have considered both the present and proposed traffic networks, which are influenced by the proposed development, and raised no objection, although they do request that a number of conditions are imposed. Environmental Health have raised concerns in terms of noise due to the proximity of residential properties and request a condition be imposed to ensure that, as part of the reserved matters application, an acoustic assessment of the potential impacts be undertaken and submitted. And then in terms of air quality, Environmental Health request a condition to ensure the developments carried out fully in accordance with the air quality assessment and addendum note, which was submitted in December. The mitigation measures will then need to be fully implemented during the development and in accordance with those documents. So in terms of flood risk, this map shows the different areas of flood risk. There's an area of flood in flood zone 2 and a culverted watercourse crosses the site. The Environment Agency initially objected, indicating their objection could be overcome with the submission of a revised flood risk assessment and supporting plans, which satisfactorily demonstrate that the development will be safe for its lifetime without increasing flood risk elsewhere, and where possible reduce flood risk overall. The lead local flood authority also required the submission of a revised flood risk assessment and the final details of the design and implementation of an appropriate surface water sustainable drainage scheme, but requested a condition be imposed to secure the submission rather than requiring this prior to determination. So the applicant has now submitted a revised flood risk assessment, which is currently being considered by the Environment Agency, who have confirmed that they don't have a significant objection to the proposal, but just need to ensure that the flood risk has been addressed fully. Therefore, and as per the update sheet that was sent out, it's proposed to change the recommendation, and if members are minded to approve the application, then the decision be delegated to the Director of Planning in consultation with the Chair of Planning Committee upon the resolution, the successful resolution of the Environment Agency's objection. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that presentation, Janice. I don't have any registered speakers in favour or against the application. I do have Councillor Karen Walton, the Ward Councillor. Councillor Walton.
Hello, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me? Because I'm on my phone at the moment because my internet connection isn't working properly.
We can hear you loud and clear, Councillor Walton.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Janice, for your excellent report. The site is a brownfield site identified in the local plan policy E1 as an employment site. Residential properties are located at the east and southeast of the site beyond the River Lostock. And I'm speaking tonight on behalf of concerns raised by the residents who will be directly affected by this development. Firstly, the Environmental Health have raised concerns over the potential increase in noise levels due to the development being in close proximity to residential properties, and they have requested conditions to be imposed to ensure that an acoustic assessment of the potential noise impact will be undertaken and submitted before any development takes place. The lead local flooding authority are also requiring a submission of a revised flood plan assessment with details of a substantial drainage system to prevent flooding and pollution, and not to grant planning permission to connect surface water drainage into the River Lostock until an adequate flood plan assessment is received, including an undertaking that the development will be safe for its lifetime. There are big flooding problems from the River Lostock already in the area and ongoing to Western Drive in Leyland. The properties in Bispam Avenue have already experienced flooding from the river, and the stability of the banking along their properties is already compromised during heavy rainfall. Lancashire County Council Highways have raised no objections against the proposed development, and that the present arrangements are acceptable. There will be two vehicular access points connecting to Centurion Way and Enterprise Drive. I seek assurances that all vehicular movements will be along Enterprise Drive and then onto the A582 to access the junction 29 of the M6 motorway, and not to junction 28 of the M6 to travel along already heavily congested roads in Leyland and along Stannisfield Lane, then onto Centurion Way. An air quality assessment and mitigating measures will be needed during the construction and the life of the development. There are severe congestion problems already on local roads and the A582, and will be under extreme pressure to cope with any substantial increase in traffic. The air quality in the area of Gloucester Court Tardygate is already subject to an air quality management area and has the poorest air quality in the borough. Any increase in traffic in the area would severely harm the health of residents in the surrounding areas of the proposed development. The residents of this area already have been subject to the impact of the Lancashire Waste Technology Park and are very concerned that there will be another substantial impact again on their quality of life from this proposed development, especially when it is predicted to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I would seek assurances that everything possible to reduce any impact from this development will be reduced to its absolute minimum. The residents of Farrington Moss are already subject to a number of large housing developments, and there is a growing necessity to maintain as much green open spaces to create green corridors and lungs between large housing developments. The proposed site is well used by residents for leisure and health purposes, and it is also important that the public right-of-way are kept and enhanced to provide links for residents to access bus services and health services, shops, railway stations in Leyland and Gloucester, and is now a major part of the borough's Green Link strategy and part of the Leyland Loop connecting areas of the borough. So I'm here to make sure that all the residents' concerns are met tonight. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Councillor Walton, thanks for your presentation. Before I bring in the agent, Janice, would you like to address any of those issues?
Thank you, Chair. No, really just to say that, there's quite a lot of conditions been imposed, 31. I think they adequately cover all the points that have been raised, particularly as this is an outline application. So it's when the reserve matters comes in where the detail will be known, and those conditions that I've sought to impose, I think cover everything that has been raised. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. Do I have the agent, Nick Pleasant, with us?
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully you can all hear and see me. So my name is Nick Pleasant. I speak this evening on behalf of the applicant, Caddick Developments. The proposal before you will enable the employment-led regeneration of the site, which, as officers have identified, is allocated for employment use in the local plan. And these uses can deliver major benefits to Farrington, the local community, and more widely South Ribble. They've been brought forward following a detailed pre-application process with officers, and we've also undertaken thorough public consultation. We continue to work alongside officers to try and ensure that concerns are mitigated and that we can deliver a lasting beneficial legacy in the area. Just in terms of the applicant, Caddick Developments, they are a industry-leading mixed-use developer which seek always to deliver best-in-class developments, particularly commercial developments in the areas which they operate. They have a proven track record of delivering these best-in-class developments on technically complex sites such as this, and particularly sites where others have been unable to deliver, which again is relevant for this site. Cadic's expertise can therefore come to the fore in order to bring this site forward. Cadic first identified the site in 2018, and over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been working alongside them to undertake a significant amount of work to understand the site constraints and opportunities. And this has led to the planning application that's in front of you this evening. Hence, the application is a culmination of a long-term strategy for investment that Cadic would like to bring forward at the earliest opportunity. In fact, in relation to this site, there is potential for development to commence by mid this year, subject to necessary approvals, of course, including a committee this evening. From a market perspective, there's significant unmet demand for new commercial and floor space in this area and across the northwest. So a prompt start on site will respond to this active interest, which is from a range of local, national, public and private sector companies and organisations. And indeed, there are ongoing conversations with a number of these parties already underway. We're aware that the site is informally used, but ultimately it is a privately owned site. However, the site generally is unwelcoming outside of daytime hours and is known to attract antisocial behaviour, particularly close to the public rights of way. So we see there's an opportunity to address these as part of a comprehensive redevelopment. And if I could just touch on a number of the specific benefits which can be delivered from this site, which we consider to be the regeneration of a former landfill that was used for tipping of inert materials from Leyland Works. So there's a significant amount of investment to come forward in the site context. There could be the creation of over 1,000 new full-time equivalent jobs in a range of roles available to community, and a number of jobs, potentially around 180 during the construction phase. And in total, this could lead to a £66 million economic value increase per annum for South Ribble, which obviously then has knock-on benefits for businesses, shops, services, etc. This would be a BREEAM very good as a minimum development and includes a range of other sustainability benefits, such as significant tree planting to mitigate any losses, a major ecological enhancement area, sustainable drainage solutions, electric vehicle charging, and significantly the completion of a key section of the Leyland Loop, which obviously fulfills the council's long-term ambition in this area. If I could just quickly touch on the local consultation, as I mentioned, Cadic has undertaken significant work in the last 2 to 3 years. Most recently, in terms of this specific outline application, we've made around 1,500 local residents aware of the proposals and sought their feedback, and that feedback has been used to influence the scheme in front of you. And indeed, that's formed part of the pre-application process, where we've looked at issues such as flood risk, noise, residential amenity, accessibility to the site, for example, and a range of conditions.
Okay, you've had 4 minutes. If you can tie up quickly, please.
Apologies, yes, I will do. So, to quickly on the Environment Agency point, these discussions are ongoing, and we are content, and they are content the application can be reported to committee. Hence, respectfully request members can follow the officer report and approve this outline application. And of course, I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. Okay, I will now open this up to committee. I will start with Councillor John Hesketh.
Thank you, Chairman. It is a rather a decent sized site, is this particular one, and it is allocated for employment and so forth. It has been vacant for quite a number of times, and I would welcome the application to go forward, Mr. Chairman. I always prefer to have something occupied than empty, Mr. Chairman. And providing that we go along with strong recommendations in the conditions, Mr. Chairman, I will go along with the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Mary Green.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we should encourage business, and yes, if it's bringing employment into the area and money into the area, I'm all for that. But I do have reservations as well. I totally agree 100% with Councillor Walton. I know the concerns of the residents, And although this matter isn't being considered this evening, as it's only an application for outline and access, I hope that the developers are minded when they get to the reserved matter stage to design this site with consideration for the residents who in the past have suffered greatly with the loss of their amenity, and they've suffered from the odour from the waste plant and the air qualities in this area as well, with the increased traffic leading up to junction 28 of the motorway is another concern. But I feel very much for the residents, because I know, I remember I was here when the waste plant was in operation, and not just the residents here on Grasmere Avenue. For miles around, you could smell the odour. It was very unpleasant. So if please, could I beg that the developers are very minded for the residents when they start imposing these working areas, that they're minded that it's something that's not noisy, doesn't pollute the air, and isn't a bad situation for the people who have to live there. I thank you for that. Thank you.
Mrs. Green, Councillor Mrs. Green, are you seconding Councillor Hesketh's approval? You're on mute, Councillor Mrs. Green.
No, I'm just finishing listening to the rest of the discussion. I'm not seconding anything at the moment.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of bits for clarification, if I could. And one is that part of the original application, I mean, I was involved in, which is why I declared an interest to start with, a great deal in talking to lots and lots of people, including County Council and the developers at the time, with regard to this application. Fully supportive of it, and I'm glad to see it bringing it forward, because I think when I was involved, it was 2009 or 10 or something like that. It was a long time ago, and it really is nice to see this very, very difficult site come forward. Just a couple of things with regard to the footpath. There was a footpath supposedly put in for cycleway along the River Lostock itself. I couldn't quite see that on the plan, and I can't see it in the report. So I'd like some confirmation that path along the River Lostock, which is from Mill Lane, that comes round and skirts the River Lostock behind the waste plant and what have you, whether that is part of this application. And the other thing with regard to, and there was a lot of work went into this at the time, which was the original design code of the site, which went through many public meetings, which eventually did receive quite a lot of support from locals. Not complete support, but did receive a lot of support, and a lot of this was regard to the height plan and I do realise this is all at the next part, which is the reserved matters application, but I just wondered about the design code, whether it was going to be based on the same design code. If somebody could answer that, and I'll then speak again if I can. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Smith. Janice?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, no, there's no footpath along the River Lostock. I remember what you're referring to was proposals, I think, by Lancashire County Council at one time that they wanted to put a footpath, but that's never come to fruition. These proposals don't include a footpath or a cycleway along the River Lostock. Relating to the design code, obviously, this is a standalone application, and it's providing its building heights and its parameters plan as part of this. So, like you say, the actual design of the buildings and what they look like will be as part of the reserved matters. But you know, we can have a look at the previous design code, certainly when we're considering any reserved matters. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice.
Thank you, Jack. Can I come back on that now? Sorry.
Seeing as you've unmuted yourself, Councillor Smith, you may.
Thank you very much, Chair, for that. Right, well, it's a shame about the footpath along the River Lostock, and if that could be brought in at some stage, that would be useful. But I also note that the access, there's a new access along Sustainability Way there, which probably could very well fill the same purpose of allowing access via there to Lostock Hall. With regard to that, then, Chair, I look forward to the Reserved Matters application, and I will second that application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Smith. Anybody else on committee wishing to speak on this application? And no one wishing to make any other proposal other than approval? Oh, okay, we have Councillor Hesketh proposing approval. Councillor Smith seconding that proposal. We shall now go to the vote, and it should be taken on the amended recommendation, which was... If you're not muted, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. The vote should be taken on the amended recommendation, which was circulated via email to members on the 12th of January, unless a separate motion which hasn't been proposed and seconded. So, Dave, can you please confirm the proposal?
Yes, Chair. The proposal as amended is that committee be minded to approve the application, but the final decision be delegated to the Director of Planning and yourself, Chair, upon the successful upon resolution and removal of the outstanding objection by the Environment Agency relating to flood matters.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Will Adams.
For.
Councillor Donoghue.
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
For.
Councillor Mary Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
Support the amended recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Amelia.
For.
Councillor Moon.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For approval, Chair.
And Councillor Watson.
For approval, Chair.
And I am also for approval. Dave, will you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Yes, Chair, that's a unanimous vote in favour of the amended resolution.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, item agenda number 12, 2 acres, Preston New Road, Samlesbury.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the 2 acre site on Preston New Road in Samlesbury, which is operated by Roman Stone and Cutter Stone, which are stone and tile suppliers. So the site has a showroom building and customer car parking area to the front, with a separate access and egress points onto Preston New Road. And then there's a storage building to the eastern boundary. External storage is between the buildings. So the site's within the green belt and surrounded by fields with hedgerow boundaries. There's public rights of way to the north of the site. So the application proposes the erection of a storage and workshop building to the rear of the existing storage building, together with an apiary. This is the proposed site layout plan to demonstrate the location of the proposed building and apiary. So this shows the elevations of the proposed building and the internal layout below, which provides for 2 workshops and storage. The supporting statement advises that the business wants to expand into supplying new lines and cutting and manipulating materials on site to suit customers' needs, hence the requirements for the workshops to allow for the cutting of stone products. So this is the existing storage building on the site. The proposed building will be of a similar design, albeit larger. The building will be used to store stone products, some of which are currently stored externally. The car sales and storage are being removed from site as this is an unauthorised activity and has been dealt with by the enforcement officer. So the Thirlmere Aqueduct runs through the site and United Utilities initially objected to the proposal. Since the report was completed and in respect of paragraph 8.33 of the report, there have been a number of emails between the agents and United Utilities who have now confirmed the proposed building does not impact on the easement for the pipes and therefore do not object. So, however, despite resolution of the UU objection, it remains that the site is within the green belt, where there's a general presumption against inappropriate development. Due to the substantial size and scale of the proposed building, it is considered that, on balance, the proposal would harm the openness of the green belt. It's officers' view that the applicant has not demonstrated sufficient very special circumstances that would outweigh the harm to the openness of the greenbelt, and therefore the proposed expansion of this business is not considered to outweigh that harm, and the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for the presentation, Janice. Well, we don't have any members of the public wishing to speak. We don't have any members not on committee wishing to speak. We do have the agent, Sophie Marshall, wishing to speak. Are you with us, Sophie Marshall?
Hi, yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, if you'd like to make your presentation, you have 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, all. I'm Sophie Marshall, agent on behalf of the applicants and their family. The applicants run the local business known as the Roman Stone Tile Company. They've been operating in the South Ribble area since 1998 and from the current site since 2012. Since 1998, the company has grown organically. Access restrictions prevented them from expanding with the needs of the business on their previous site, hence the move to where they are now. Over the last 5 years, the existing site has worked well. The sympathetic barn-like building to the road frontage provides a high-quality showroom. Customers come from all over the country to see the available tile and stone products before committing to purchase. As product lines expand and larger scale customers have been introduced, ideally the showroom building would be extended. However, this is not possible due to the location of the aqueduct. There is a similar need to extend the storage facilities and provide a workshop area. The business is in need of additional separate internal space for inspecting and presenting products to larger commercial customers. This area needs to be kept separate from the workshop for health and safety purposes. As larger customers, including house developers, increase, they need to meet this demand by buying more products in bulk. They also want to expand their Indian and Italian ranges to meet the demand. This involves stockpiling products to avoid unnecessary tariffs and customer delays. Indian products arrive in containers, not pallets, hence more storage required, and the storage is currently spilling out into external areas, putting the products at risk of weather damage. There is also demand for the business to provide tailored tiles and stones to meet customer needs. Accordingly, the business needs a workshop in order to develop cutting and fabrication. This involves working with large slabs and expensive products, so there needs to be plenty of room to manoeuvre and work. Fortunately, the business has seen continued interest and inquiries throughout the COVID pandemic. The issue has been accessibility to products and lack of internal space. Over the course of the next 5 years, with the proposed development, turnover is expected to increase twofold and provide another 6 employees. South Ribble permits the growth of larger sites in the Greenbelt for major employers, as evident by the range of sites in the immediate vicinity and the one seen tonight. Whilst the applicants are not major employers, smaller businesses looking to expand are just as vital to the economy, especially as we come out of the pandemic. This expanding business is an asset to the area, and it would be good to gain the support from the local authority. It's recognised that unless the site is a major employer, the size of the building is larger than that normally permitted under Greenbelt policy. However, there are a number of very special circumstances weighing in favour, including retention and expansion of an existing well-established business within the South Ribble area, It's not possible to relocate due to the highway's locational and space requirements. The fallback position, if it were possible, would be extensions to existing buildings and more unsuitable external storage, incorporation of an apiary increasing local bee numbers, creation of a further 6 jobs. There's a low visual impact due to the backdrop of the existing buildings and the location to the rear of the site, and it benefits from very good transport links to ease trading throughout the UK. Accordingly, it's presented that the development falls under very special circumstances, will not have a significant impact on the openness of the green belt within the existing site boundaries, is sustainable and contributes to the local economy. For these reasons, it's respectfully requested that the application is approved. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Sophie. Thanks for your presentation. I'm going to come into committee straight away. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. This is another one that's in the ward of Councillor Yates and Molyneux, and I've spoken with them. With Councillor Yates not being present tonight, he and I both agree that. Well, first of all, I want to thank the officers for the report, but we both agree with the refusal for this as it's part of safeguarding the green belt. It's a shame because I personally am very much positive for anything that's supporting or helping business, and I've certainly nothing against an apiary being created either. But I know the parish council as well are pleased with the recommendations, and really I feel I need to go with the ward councillors and the residents and the parish council in this, and propose refusal.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Watson. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. I can't believe what I'm hearing here. Look, reading and listening to this quite clearly looks to me like it's a brownfield site on plan. The development is inside the boundary. It's a local family business with no objections in terms of neighbours. Investment which is creating jobs and a sustainable development, and a natural progression and expansion. I'm not sure how I'm not sure how it is having a issue in terms of affecting the openness to the green belt. So I'm going for approval, Chair.
Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm also of the same feelings, to be honest. I don't understand, I don't agree with the 2 reasons for refusal. I don't see that this is going to be add significant traffic to the 365. I also, I think we should maximise our discretion in terms of the 2.4 metre high fencing. We can't state, we've done it numerous times, not only tonight but over the last few months, about the need to support businesses. I think if we're talking about this application, and if we're able to show our discretion on a plot which already has buildings on it, we're not going into more greenbelt here. This is on the same land. Then I don't understand why we're going for refusal. So I would support Councillor Flannery's amendment for approval, and I will second that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Adams. Janice, do you want to come back on any of those comments or not? No, you're all right. Okay. Right, so we've had a proposal for refusal. I'll bring Dave Whelan in first.
Yes, Chair, just a comment. Councillors Flannery and Adams are moved in favour of planning permission. Obviously, the report is written on the basis of recommendation with refusal. Now, if we were minded to grant planning permission, you'd have to consider the imposition of conditions, which is clearly something we couldn't do tonight. So, if committee is minded that way, I suppose there are 2 obvious ways forward. One would be for committee say we're minded to grant planning permission, delegated to the director and yourself to decide on the conditions, or the other way, I suppose, would be to bring it back to another committee. But if committee is minded to grant planning permission tonight, what I'm saying is we won't be able to sort out the conditions, so it'd have to be some kind of minded to decision.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Well, we have had a proposal for... Oh, Councillor Flannery wants to come back before letting me get a word in edgeways. Councillor Flannery, you're muted, which is very unusual.
Sorry, Chair. Just taking on board Dave's advice there. What we don't want to be doing is discouraging this type of investment, and just sort of like we need to be challenging the rationale. I've just noted there's a site further down the road which has grown, looks like tenfold in the last 10 to 15 years, and it's a very similar site. So Dave's advice is sound. I just don't want to see us put in a position where we're refusing someone who's quite clearly trying to improve, invest, create jobs. And as Councillor Adams has said, it is in the plan of the actual site. It's not actually going into the greenbelt. So I'm still, obviously, I would consider deferral, but with some advice. And I would also consider what Dave said in terms of us going for approval, but with yourself and the Director of Planning also having some input on the conditions. So thanks for letting me back in. Cheers.
You're welcome, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Mrs Green.
Thank you, Chair. I too have a heavy heart because I too would like to encourage local small businesses in expanding and creating work, etc. But there are restrictions on the green belt. There's certain things that can be done on green belt and certain things that can't. And I know it's already there existing as a showroom and a very small place, but the proposals are to expand and have larger workshops where there's propensity of having noise, dust. You know, if they're grinding the stone and the marble or whatever they're grinding, there's going to be dust in the atmosphere. And I'm afraid we're sitting right in the middle of the green belt. And if the parish council's got concerns and the local councillors are concerned, I feel it's only fair that we should strengthen that by going for a vote of refusal.
So you're seconding Councillor Watson's proposal for refusal, Councillor Green?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So we had Councillor Watson voting for refusal, seconded by Councillor Mrs Green voting for refusal. We also had amendment by Councillor Flannery for approval, and that was seconded by Councillor Adams. So we need to vote on the amendment first. Dave Whelan will come in.
Yeah, just to clarify again, if you are minded to vote in favour of planning permission, we can't resolve it tonight. It would probably the most practical way to do it is that if that's what you're minded to do, is to say committee's minded to grant planning permission, subject to but the final decision be delegated to the director and the chair to sort out the conditions to be imposed. So that would be the decision if you're minded to grant.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. So we are now going to vote on the amendment, and that amendment is for approval. So, Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Donoghue.
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
For.
Councillor Green.
Against.
Councillor Hancock.
Against.
Councillor Hesketh.
Against.
Yeah, for, right.
Councillor Melia.
For.
Councillor Moon,
Against.
Councillor Smith,
Against.
Councillor Watson.
Against, Chair.
Thanks for that. My vote is I am against the amendment. Okay, so we now go to the original vote on refusal. Councillor Adams,
Against.
Councillor Donoghue,
Against.
Councillor Flannery,
Against.
Councillor Green,
For.
Councillor Hancock,
For.
Councillor Hesketh,
For.
Councillor Amelia,
Against.
Councillor Moon,
For.
Councillor Smith,
For.
Councillor Watson,
For, Chair.
and I am also for refusal.
On that basis.
Okay, Dave?
On that basis, there were a majority of votes in favour of refusal, 7 to 4. So the application for the permission for the erection of a detached commercial building is refused.
Okay, thanks for that. Item number 13 on tonight's agenda, number 367 Brindle Road, Bamber Bridge. Janice.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the residential property 367 Brindle Road in Bamber Bridge. The area is mainly residential in nature and is within the existing built-up area as defined by local plan policy B1. To the west of the site is the Walton Summit employment area, which is screened from Brindle Road by mature boundary planting. So this shows the application property and its relationship with neighbouring residential properties. The property has a domestic garage and driveway and parking area, and these have now been resurfaced. This is a view of the application site looking towards Walton Summit employment area. So the application is retrospective for the erection of a detached building which is used as a workplace for the assembly of circuit boards. The building measures 12 metres by 7.5 metres with a ridge height of 4 metres and is generally located in the area of the garage which was demolished. So this photo shows the building in situ with the parking area to its front. A 2.4 metre high boundary fence is also proposed as part of this application, some of which has already been installed. And this shows the rear boundary fencing. So the proposal also includes air conditioning units to the side elevation. This is just a photograph of them. So there's no objections from consultees to the proposal, but a number of objections have been received from neighbouring residents in terms of traffic, use and scale of the development. This photograph demonstrates the driveway to the workshop building and its relationship with the adjacent property and its dormer window which overlooks. On consideration of the proposal, it's the officer's view that the development introduces an industrial process with associated increase in traffic into what is a residential area to the detriment of the residential amenity and the character and appearance of the area. Therefore, the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. Okay, we have 3 registered members of the public who are all against the application. Do we have Laura Travers?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, Laura, if you'd like to make your objections, you have 4 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My mum lives right next door to the industrial unit that the application relates to. She's asked me to speak on her behalf. We object to the planning application, and I've got 6 main points that I want to make. Point 1, people should have the right to enjoy their own home without excessive disturbance. This unit has introduced noise and disturbance into my mum's use of her back garden. The noise of cars and vans driving to and from the unit is disruptive. Its car park is right on the other side of the fence that borders my mum's property. It's reasonable to want to sit in your garden and relax without being forced to sit next to an industrial unit and its car park. Alternative locations can be found for business premises, but you can't relocate your own back garden. 2, people should be able to expect a right to privacy in their home. The larger vans and vehicles driving to the site are tall enough to allow the driver to see over the fence and into my mum's garden and rear lounge. An 8-foot fence, which is the larger fence that was referred to, would not solve this problem with regard to some of the larger vehicles. The industrial unit is huge. It's much bigger than the original double garage. It's made from corrugated industrial type material. This is out of character with the design of the local houses, including 2 stone cottages. The unit spoils the visual amenity of the surroundings by industrialising the feel of the area. It breaks up the sense of residential community to the detriment of people's well-being. It dominates and it overwhelms the back gardens of all of the surrounding homes. And the applicant has said that the unit is to build circuits, small circuits. So it's hard to understand why it has to be so huge for building such circuits. 4, if this building was granted planning permission, this could set a precedent for further industrial units to be built along the street in future. This would further industrialise the residential nature of the street and cause a risk of maybe other units being built in other back gardens. 5, it's not reasonable to allow such a large, inappropriate industrial unit to be built in a back garden, even if it would mean the business owner could reduce overheads. If this was allowed, there would be a precedent for other business owners to perhaps do the same. Saving business costs cannot be at the cost of other people losing the enjoyment of their garden. And 6, while there is an industrial site across the road as mentioned, this is completely separated from the residential street by trees. These units are in a purpose-built industrial area. There is no vehicular access from Brindle Road where the unit in question has been built. The industrial area isn't inches away from anyone's back garden. And for these reasons, I urge you to please refuse the planning permission for this industrial unit. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation, Laura, and congratulations, you did it within 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, Paula Reynolds, please.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening.
I'm representing residents as well as myself. Lancashire County Council Highways. Sorry, it's repeating on me. This.
I'm sorry. Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No, we're getting a lot of feedback here. Has somebody got the microphone switched on?
Can you turn yours off, Peter? Is it on? Is that better?
Sorry, that's better.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Sorry. Lancashire County Highways may not consider this industrial building will have a severe impact on highway safety, stating their decision is an engineering judgment based on a site visit and the consideration of developmental proposals. Ours is an empirical judgment based on the fact that we live here. A paucity of personal injury accident claims does not give a true reflection of how dangerous a road can be, nor the daily density of traffic on this particular stretch of road. At certain times of the day, vehicles are at a standstill due to the sheer volume of traffic that emanates from the motorway in one direction and from Horton and Bamber Bridge in the opposite direction. If any cars or vehicles are parked outside our houses for any reason, the delays to traffic flow is increased. This results in drivers becoming agitated, and there have been occasions when some drivers have shouted obscenities and aggressive comments. There are large HGVs ignoring the 7.5 tonne limit and a school bus route with a stop outside a row of cottages that is often obscured by parked cars. Traffic has increased due to the two large housing estates built within the last 5 years, and another one is imminent, all requiring access onto Brindle Road. All vehicles requiring access to our homes are problematic if even one car parks on the road. Delivery drivers often park on the pavement so as not to affect traffic flow, causing danger to pedestrians because there's no pavement on the opposite side. A large industrial unit currently housing 5 workers means more traffic requiring parking facilities and access for delivery and collection of products. This already causes problems for residents and can only get worse. Surely K3 Works Limited, the company who erected the building, must have known that planning permission would be needed. It far exceeds the footprint of the former garage it was supposed to replace. And the increase in the size of the drive to accommodate parking for a total of 5 cars. This development encroaches on the amenity of its neighbours and is no longer a garage but a place of employment. The height of the building dominates all our gardens because Walton Summit is not flat. Aerial photographs and 2D plans shown at the beginning of the presentation do not give a proportionate view, which I'm sure the councillors and planning officer who visited the site will vouch for. The building is far higher than the one shown adjacent to it on the plan. The plans also show other outbuildings on our land, which were removed years ago, giving yet another false impression. We now have housing developments to both sides of our property and a large expanse of Walton Summit Industrial Estate to the front. We have a policy to protect the commercial and industrial sites in our locality from residential development. We ask that our councillors support us in safeguarding our residential areas similarly. The people supporting the application are either working in the building or have been involved in the construction of it or are friends of the owner. They do not live in the area, so have no concern for the people who do. Their owners have every intention to expand the business, so where there are now 5 people working, how many more could be employed if planning is allowed? Where are the toilet facilities? What health and safety considerations are afforded the employees? The structure is totally incongruous in a residential area and severely affects the amenity of at least 2 of the properties adjacent to it. In addition, we do not wish to have a manufacturing enterprise being conducted in the midst of our residential gardens. No amount of conditions attached to approval of this application would be sufficient and would be extremely difficult to monitor or enforce. The residents...
Paula, you've had 4 minutes.
Well, the residents...
tie up, please.
Yeah, I urge the councillors to refuse the application, enforce removal of the building and set a date for completion. Thank you, Mrs Janice Crook, for the comprehensive report.
Okay, thanks for that, Paula. We have a Peter Gerrish.
Yes, I'm here.
If you'd like to present your objections, you have 4 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you, Chair. My name is Peter Gerrish and my property shares a boundary with this development. And I'd like to confirm that besides speaking for myself, I'm also representing owners and tenants of 6 other homes that also share a boundary with 367 Brindle Road. In respect to the Central Lancashire Core Strategy Policy 17, it's our view this building fails to take account of the character and appearance of the local area. Neighbouring properties are of a traditional brick or stone construction, while the building in question is utilitarian, of a steel structure and totally out of character with the area. The building has a spatial footprint far exceeding the garage it replaces and greater than indeed many of the nearby homes. The height of 4 metres dominates views from local residents' windows and overshadows and has an overbearing impact on the small network of residential gardens. In our view, the development fails to meet the expectations of the National Planning Policy Framework. It does not support healthy lifestyles. It does not guard against unnecessary loss of valued facilities. It does not add to the overall quality of the area. It's not visually attractive as a result of good architecture, and it's certainly not sympathetic to the local character. Being close to Walton Summit Industrial Estate, the busy Brindle Road and the M61 motorway, local residents live their daily lives close to industry and traffic. We recognise the contributions these make to the economic welfare of the region. However, our gardens provide respite and a tranquil haven, contributing significantly to physical health and mental well-being. Residents expect to enjoy their gardens without the imposition of a large industrial enterprise within metres of their boundaries and without any consultation or scrutiny. Secondly, residents have serious doubts about the mitigation claims associated with this development. And initially, neighbours were misled during construction when intentions were variously described as a replacement garage and/or a work from home office. It was only when the size and scale of the building became apparent and the erection of a large business sign for UK Industrial Control Systems Limited appeared that the true intention and consequences of establishing a manufacturing enterprise became apparent. The submission of a planning application was only made following local residents' representation to ward councillors and officers of the Borough Council. The cost, size, scale and construction of the building belies the claim that it's a temporary structure. Even if the company ceased trading from this address, a large industrial unit is likely to remain. The company's own website and LinkedIn account contradicts the claim that it's a temporary response to the pandemic. One entry states, and I quote, "While COVID-19 has put an upset on the 2020 year, it was always in our plans to have this new facility." The company's website promotes itself as a 7-day-a-week operation operating between 8 in the morning and 8 at night and boasts of an intention to grow. Plans submitted with the planning application are inaccurate in a number of respects and minimise the impact of the building on the neighbourhood. So for these and other reasons, residents have no confidence in the statements made in the application attempting to mitigate the impact of the development. And finally, approval of this development would set a precedent. It would give a green light to developers that buildings can be erected and change of use undertaken without reference to the local character and appearance. It would suggest that if called to account after failure to apply for planning permission, they can be rewarded with retrospective approval. I'd like to thank the planning officers for their due diligence and thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak to the committee.
You're welcome, Peter. Thanks for your presentation. Right, I don't have any members not on committee wishing to speak on this application. I do have the applicant's agent, Andrew Cowley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hiya, my name's Lewis Buller. I'm speaking on behalf of Andrew Cowley tonight and 1086 Estates as Mr Chadwick's agent. Unfortunately, Andrew's ill and hasn't been able to make the meeting, so they've asked me if I'd take it for him.
Yeah, that's fine, go on.
In answer to the local residents' questions, I'll start them in a certain order. I don't think it's the order they answered them in. They said that they were concerned that it was a 7-day-a-week undertaking. The business does run 7 days a week, but not from there. That's when they're actually on site, doing installations on site away from the place. It doesn't house 5 workers. Usually there's only 2 on site, which are usually the applicant and his wife. There is sometimes 1 or 2 others in the building, but usually they're off on stalls. It's just the on site. It's actually the control panels just being assembled. I'm just trying to read my notes here. A little bit of back history on the applicant. Before coronavirus hit, my client was subcontracting as a software engineer. Due to coronavirus, obviously, everybody's working criteria sort of changed, and he began working from home in an office, taking calls initially. His business then took a little bit of a turn, which meant that he now needed to put together these control panels that they basically come in boxes of very small components, and they're put together in the building, and then they're sent out to site where they're installed and maintained on site by his team of engineers. The initial plan was to use the existing building that was there. However, when my client actually went in to try and do this, the roof was in a massive state of disrepair. There was puddles on the floor. It just wasn't practical. we weren't working for our client at the time, and he made the uneducated mistake of basically replacing the structure that was there with the new one. Now, there's been a lot of concern that it's a lot bigger. It's not. It's actually on the original concrete slab that was already there. I'd like to say if this building was moved away from the boundary by around about a metre, it'd fall under PD. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't need planning permission. In October of 2020, he was visited by a council's enforcement officer who basically requested that planning permission was put in for this building. Now, we're unsure why it was refused when permission was requested. If enforcement action was going to be taken, surely it should have been taken at the time. My client was told that they've had liaison with the planning officers and that we need to legalise everything, pop an application in, which my client did at great expense. We do understand and sympathise with the neighbours and having the building there. We would be happy to clad the building if it makes a big difference to them, but I'd just like to I'd just like to clarify that the building is no bigger than what was there already. The car parking area is simply the original hard standing resurfaced. The fence was put up to try and make it better for the neighbours to look at. Again, if it was changed to, if the building was moved and it fell under PD, there wouldn't have to be a fence there. That building could simply sit in the middle of that garden and be seen from all angles. So yeah, my client has tried to do everything he can to minimise his neighbours. He has made mistakes along the way. Unfortunately, that was before we were brought in. So we've tried to sort of legalise everything for him. With regards to the traffic and the noise, there's
okay. That's your 4 minutes. That's your 4 minutes. You need, if you tie up very quickly.
I'll wrap it up now. Yeah, with regards to the traffic and the noise, no reports have been produced to show that the traffic is from my client. There's a lot of delivery vans and such like about at the minute because of the
okay,
coronavirus.
You've had your time.
Thank you.
You've had your time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Janice, would you like to come back on some of those points, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As I've highlighted in the report about the, well, it's 8.1.4 about the permitted development allowance for outbuildings, which is up to 4 metres in height for a dual pitch roof if it's more than 2 metres from the boundary, providing it does not have an eaves height greater than 2.5 metres. In this case, the building has an eaves height of 3 metres. So whilst it's true that you can have a building as permitted development to a similar size, it would have to be lower, it would have to be further than the boundary, and it would have to be a domestic outbuilding. So that's just that point. Sorry, I can't read my own writing here. I'll leave it at that. Sorry, I can't.
Okay, that's fine, Janice. Right, okay, I am going to bring this application into committee. I have Councillor Amelia.
Hello, yes, I'm the ward councillor. And, well, first of all, I would like to thank Laura, Paula and Peter for their excellent presentation. Words fail me, actually. I think it's a travesty that this was built without planning permission. It is obviously an industrial building and a large one at that, nothing like a garage at all. And it is in a residential garden. And this is in a semi-rural area. It's very busy, is Brindle Road, and the amount of traffic is quite unbelievable at times. It can be quite backed up. There is no room for any vehicles going into their industrial garden. There is no room at all, and there's no dropped curb, so so it is illegal actually to go in. And I firmly believe that this should be refused. I'm actually lost for words. I don't know if any other councillors have actually been to see this building, because words fail you when you actually see it. So I would advise all councillors to put in a refusal. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Amelia. So you are proposing refusal. Okay, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. This is another one where I'm the bordering ward councillor, and I'd like to thank again the officers for the presentation. I would also like to thank the residents for what they've said, and for Councillor Amelia's words as well. I'm in complete agreement in that it's excessive, to say the least, is this building, and the way it's been dealt with. I am sympathetic towards business working from home, especially under the COVID situation, and had it been something much subtler, I probably wouldn't have an issue, but this is by no means subtle. It is astonishing. I am one of those who has gone and seen it, with it again just being outside my ward, and yeah, it's a terrible area as well, in that the amount of traffic and so on that backs up because of the railway at peak times. It's quite flabbergasting, as Councillor Amelia has rightly pointed out, and I would happily second her proposal for refusal.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Watson. Councillor Will Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to second Councillor Amelia's proposal. I totally agree with what has been said. So Councillor Watson beat me to it, but very happy to support it for the reasons that are stated within the report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Adams. Anyone else on committee wishing to comment on this application? Do we have any other proposals? No? Okay, Dave, can you let them know what they're voting for?
Yes, the officer recommendation is for refusal, and this relates to the retrospective application for change of use of part of the domestic curtilage of a land and for the erection of a detached building.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. I know you put your hand up, but you were too late, Councillor Smith, so we've gone to the vote. Councillor Adams, for refusal?
For.
Councillor Donoghue?
For refusal, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
For refusal.
Councillor Green?
For refusal.
Councillor Hancock?
For refusal, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For refusal.
Councillor Amelia?
For refusal.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Smith?
For refusal, Chair.
Councillor Watson?
For refusal, Chair.
And my own vote is for refusal. Dave?
Yes, that's a unanimous vote in favour of refusal, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that. And finally this evening, item number 14. Item 14, land off Shawbrook Road and Oak Lane, Leyland. Catherine Lewis, please. Are you
Oh, hi, Chair. If we could have the first slide, please, of the location plan, that would be helpful. Thanks. This slide demonstrates the location plan. The site sits about 2 kilometres south of Leyland Town Centre. It's an allocated residential development and is currently being developed by Redrow. Members will recall that outline approval was granted for 400 dwellings, and the reserve matters, which this red edge shows, demonstrates the site which has consent for the detailed development. Members could also recall that 12 months ago, the applicant submitted an application for a replan of an area, and that was for the top 2 squares that you can see on that plan there. And that was basically to include a secondary housing design known as the Harwood Range, which was a mid-range dwellings, and that was to provide more choice, and it increased the actual approved numbers from 232 to 246. It was an increase of 14. If we could have the next slide, please. The current application seeks to replan a area of the earlier replan. So what's happened is that the Lancashire Regional Office have been instructed by Redrow Head Office, where there's any replanning of the Harwood homes that have been approved, that phase shouldn't commence. And what the head office are saying, that due to COVID, there's been a change in the face of the working environment. More people are working from home temporarily, and they think that that will probably happen of a permanent nature. So on that basis, they want to reduce the number of housing down to provide for slightly larger housing that can accommodate home working. Could I have the next slide, please? And this slide just demonstrates that affordable units would still appear within this replan, within the areas that are identified by the blue line. And if I could have the next slide. And this slide demonstrates the street scenes. And I think one of the key street scenes is the last one, section BB, and that demonstrates that there's a use of similar materials. The tenure for the affordables, which is the block at the end of that last section BB, will remain tenure blind. That means it will integrate seamlessly with the existing development as it uses similar materials, and there's a strong place-making element. So the application is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions in the report, together with the update sheet, which corrects a couple of the plan numbers. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for your report, Catherine. I have no registered speakers, no objectors, no in favour. I've no members not on committee. I have the applicant, Anthony Blackwell from Redrow Homes. You're on mute, Anthony.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay,
Thank
if you'd
you.
like to make your presentation, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the committee. I won't take up the whole 4 minutes and make a full statement. There's a very detailed committee report prepared by the planning officer, which we support. And I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any during the course of your debate. The application is for a change of house type. We benefit from an outline permission. The change is driven by market forces and perhaps does reflect these strange times and people's need to work at home. The affordable provision is per the requirements of the outline permission and is located in the same places as the previous approvals. It's tenure blind and it is taken from our house range as proof of being tenure blind. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. I will now open this up to committee. Anyone, please? Councillor Smith.
Thank you. The changes aren't massively significant, as we've seen from the various other applications that have come in. They have changed a bit. It makes sense, Chair, and it's. I'll just move approval.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Smith. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go along with Councillor Smith. It's only really a variation of houses, and I presume that developers have to change from time to time on what the conditions are like. So I will go along with approval, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Hesketh. Anyone else? No other proposals? No. Okay, we will go to the vote on this one. Councillor Adams. Councillor Adams.
Sorry, Chair, I'm having some difficulties here. I can't really hear anything. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to the vote on approval.
I heard that, thank you.
Councillor Donoghue,
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Flannery,
For.
Councillor Mary Green,
For.
Councillor Hancock,
For approval, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh,
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Amelia,
For.
Councillor Moon,
For.
Councillor Smith,
For approval.
Councillor Watson,
For approval, Chair.
and I am also for approval. Dave, could you confirm the outcome of the vote?
Yes, Chair, that's unanimous vote in favour of granting reserve matters approval for the development of Shawbrook Road.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Just before I close the meeting, we're going to go